Africa is going to see some major changes in the population, the way the transport systems work, the density of the population, the cooking styles, the types of fuels they use, the generation of electricity, water. It's going through this transition, which is going to have major impacts on environmental exposures to individuals over the next 20 or 30 years.
What's unique about this community? Why is it important to do a cohort study in Africa and in this community in particular?
I think one of the important things about a cohort study, firstly in Africa, is that we don't really have very many cohort studies in Africa. This is a unique opportunity to start something.
None of this size,
None of
to
this
my
size.
knowledge.
Absolutely. So that's certainly something that we can do.
Hi, Mrs. Lee.
Hello.
Your tablet's delivery. Mrs. Lee, what is this? Do you know this is this is actually messing up your health? This is a health risk.
When you're talking about the cigarettes now, I think I will rather smoke less because I know it's not healthy.
But I think, Mrs. Lee, so if I'm you, don't even think of smoking less. Rather throw it away, man, because this is very, very unhealthy to you.
Do you see the chronic diseases are increasing here?
Yes, it's increasing, and I'm doing deliveries. And from November up to now, January, I lost over 14 patients. I've got my book where I can show you. And most of my patients that died is heart diseases and diabetics.
Michelle, what are you going to do when you get back now? What is your next step, and how do we take this whole idea further?
Well, what I've been struck with in my looking at this problem is that there's been no money spent in this area. There's been a lot of money poured into infectious diseases, into the HIV problem, and that's a good thing. You know, the PEPFAR program and other programs, Bill Gates, take nothing away from that. That is all needed and should happen, but there has been no money put into chronic diseases, non-communicable diseases in Africa. And when we attempt to go back, and we're going to be writing a proposal and attempting to look for fundraisers who are interested in this new and emerging problem that people don't believe is happening in Africa, but I know you know it and I know it, and that's our plan.
I think this study is particularly important because it really allows the school to build on many years of research that has taken place within Africa, to build on relationships, but to conduct a project which is very different in scope and content than the kinds of work that we have done here in the past. And it really has the potential of helping large populations throughout Africa through discoveries that may be made through this study.
This visit to Africa has generated a quite long and concrete list of action items. So we need to work in parallel with preparing the study, with anchoring this study in the different institutions, involving Harvard School of Public Health, start thinking about different funding opportunities, and also think seriously about this initiative as a tool for academic development in African countries.
The Harvard School of Public Health has a long tradition of conducting large-scale cohort studies. It really almost started that discipline in its Department of Epidemiology through the Harvard Nurses Study and then other such cohort studies. Graduates of this school have led cohort studies which follow up a population over time in many countries of the world. So this is really one of the distinct research strengths of the Harvard School of Public Health. The cohort study will be both observational, it will allow us to understand how these diseases unfold over time, but it will also make it possible to test interventions, to actually design programs and test them scientifically so that we can learn whether they work or not work, and then that knowledge becomes disseminated and benefits the rest of the world as well. And lastly, I would like to see this as the beginning of a broadening of the global health agenda, but to begin to embrace also the emerging problems that are going to produce huge amounts of avoidable suffering unless we act today. These are preventable diseases. And if we act today by creating knowledge, by understanding and testing interventions, then I think we can look to a future where these will be manageable problems and not overwhelming problems that can thwart development in the poorest parts of the world.